Spheksophobic, a fear of wasps. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm honestly not even sure whether or not I'm wearing pants today. We're going no makeup because I'm having some form of an allergic reaction. Welcome to Meg Talk Science. If this is your first time here, today I'm going to tell you how I cope with summer. So bees, wasps, and other stingy things have terrified me ever since one summer when my little brother drank a bee. You know how sometimes they like to go into your soda because it's sweet, and then it was in his soda and he drank it? Horrifying experience, just terrifying. And so since then, I have just been absolutely terrified of bees and wasps. I have a core memory of my dad trying to take down wasps' nests and then getting stung all over. And we were looking for pennies around the house to try and help his stings, which, by the way, is actually false. A penny does nothing for a wasp sting except maybe make you feel better about it emotionally. So go to a doctor if you're worried. But yeah, they're just so scary, and they can sting you whenever they want to. So I don't like them. I've never been diagnosed with Spheksophobic, which is a tough word to pronounce. I'm really not sure I'm saying it right, but I do understand it very viscerally. So let's talk about coping. Also, editing Meg here, and I know that I look the same. It's because I edit directly after I record because I like getting things over with. Anyway, fear of wasps is Spheksophobic. And fear of bees has another name. I've seen malophobia. I've also seen apophobia. But yeah, they are two different things. But to me, wasps are way more scary than bees because they have vengeance in their hearts, which is why this video was about Spheksophobic. But of course, bees are mentioned because they're also scary and they can sting you. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Unfortunately, for those of us who are terrified of bees and wasps, they are actually important parts of the environment. And they're actually typically not that interested in stinging you. They're more interested in plants or food. So my number one tip, honestly, when dealing with bees and wasps that has worked for me for all of my life thus far is to try and stay calm. Sudden motion can scare the poor little things, which can make them more likely to sting you. And that will kill a bee, which would be sad, even if you are scared of them. So if you're out in the world and a wasp wants some of your lunch or a bee wants some of your soda, just let them have it. Stay still, stay calm, try not to make any sudden movements, and it will probably be okay. It'll be okay. Conversely, my tip number 2 is that coasters are your friend, because there are times when, you want the lemonade. That's for you, not for bees. So some of you might know that I moved to Germany this year. Those of you who know that might also know that Germans love to sit in beer gardens and have a couple pints and maybe a bite to eat. Unfortunately for me, wasps also love hanging out in beer gardens. And if you're like me, you tend to go for an apple schorle, which is apple juice and sparkling water instead of beer. And wasps can be fairly interested in the sugary drinks, which is not fun. So I just cover the top of my drink with a coaster, and then I can drink it when I want, and then the wasps and the bees will stay away from it because they can't get in there. So yeah, coasters are your friends. But you can also consider eating inside, or, if you have some control over your environment, doing something to keep wasps away, like lighting a citronella candle. Because wasps will love eating your food, and bees are attracted to sweet foods, especially sodas and stuff. And the thought of eating a bee or a wasp genuinely keeps me awake at night. That is the worst thing in the world to me. So if it's a beautiful day and there are just too many bugs in the world, I don't think it's a bad thing to eat inside near a window. And you can still go on a nice walk afterwards. You can go outside, but you don't have to bring your sweet foods outside. And like I just said, if you do eat outside and you have a bit of control over the space, maybe it's your backyard, it has been suggested by random people on the internet that certain scents, like citronella or mint, can keep wasps away. So consider having an emotional support candle or mint plant nearby. That might help you. And if you do try that tip, please let me know whether it actually works, because I'm not above just carrying mint with me at all times. That seems like a fun thing to do this summer. Okay, my 4th tip as to dealing with bees and wasps during the summer is to wear white, or at least not florals. So the reason not to wear florals is kind of obvious. If you don't want bees to come land on you, maybe don't remind them of flowers. I don't know how much florals actually do attract bees, but better safe than sorry. The tip about wearing white comes from random people on the internet who have suggested that specifically the colors black and like red can remind bees and wasps of predators that want to get into the hive, like bears and raccoons. I don't know if that's true, but summer is a nice time for your like loose linens anyway. And I prefer being covered if I'm going to have a bee or a wasp land on my arm, especially. That way I don't freak out because there's something between the bee and me. So that's a tip if you just have a really hard time with your emotional responses to bees and wasps. Wearing something that covers your body might give you a second of like wiggle room in terms of staying calm, breathing, and then letting it fly away rather than sting you. On the note of like what to wear and what not to wear, I would say skip the floral perfumes and the perfumes that smell like food. I love a good floral perfume. I love a good like vanilla note in a perfume. I own a couple of those, but I just don't tend to wear them if I'm going to be out a lot during the summer because that is a good way to attract bees to you. Like they search for flowers. If you do feel the need to wear a perfume during the summer and you're like going to be outside and stuff, there is some evidence for certain scents that can keep bees away. So like I know more of the evidence behind this with fruit flies because that's what my neuroscience degree had a lot of. We love fruit flies in neuroscience. And basically like the more alcohol content in fruit means that they're more likely to be rotten or bad. So unless the fruit flies are starving, they're actually going to be like turned away from the alcohol content. I'm really oversimplifying. But what I'm saying is there is evidence that certain scents will keep bugs away. However, with bees, I just don't really know what those scents are. I don't think that a whole bunch of people are interested in doing those types of studies. If you've seen one of them, let me know in the comments down below because I would be super interested. But according to random people on the internet, the scents that you should consider if you're scared of bees are going to be lemon, coffee, clove, and cucumber. So it seems like strong smells might have a tendency to keep the bees away. Again, I don't really know how scientifically backed this evidence is. I know that there's evidence in fruit flies for a similar process, but it's not quite the same. So who knows, maybe in a few years there will be an anti-bee perfume, or maybe like some beekeepers know perfumes that bees just tend to stay away from or not sting you with, I guess. I'm just waffling at this point. But yeah, skip the floral and the food perfumes during summer if you're scared of bees. I would also say that if you are just terrified of bees and wasps, do your composting after dark. So if you're in a good German household, like I am, you'll likely have a small kitchen compost bin that you take out fairly regularly. I mean, we eat so many veggies that we have to take it out like once a day. Unfortunately for us, the compost, especially in the summer, will start attracting like scary flying things. Right now it's flies. When it gets warmer, it'll be bees and wasps. Fortunately for us, wasps are diurnal, which means that they are awake during the day. So you can lessen your chances of an unfortunate wasp encounter by taking out the compost after dark when the wasps are asleep. That's the only time I will take out the compost during my summer, which is why my husband does it for me. So, thank you. My last tip is a bit different from the rest of them because tip 7 is like confront your fears and consider therapy. Being terrified of everything that flies past your ear is not a pleasant experience. And so if you have really big problems, especially those that are like affecting your everyday life, consider going to therapy, maybe try cognitive behavioral therapy, or even like a talk therapist that can help. Because living with a phobia of bees and wasps sounds kind of silly, but it can genuinely impact your everyday life. Like, I have to mentally fortify myself to go on picnics, and that's kind of sad. So if you have really, really great struggles, consider going to a professional to try and get help. And there are ways that you can expose yourselves to your fear of bees and wasps without getting stung, which hopefully I have enlightened you on a bit. But it also is just about like accepting risk and accepting that things probably aren't going to go terribly wrong if you do get stung, unless you're allergic, in which case have your EpiPen on you, please. But yeah, it's something that we can work through maybe together, and maybe next summer I will only have to do half the things on the list to keep myself prepared for bees and wasps because I'll be braver. I don't know. I'll try. But yeah, I think that maybe we can try to work through this and have a less terrifying summer. And in the meantime, we got this. So yeah, in conclusion, I would say bees can be your friends. You can form a temporary truce with wasps where like this is my space and that's your space. I'm still always going to be scared of wasps. But yeah, bees especially are friends, and I think that we can work around them in the world and maybe try and be a little bit less terrified of them, especially if we skip the floral perfumes, don't wear floral clothes, and kind of give them their space during the day so that we can be unstung and they also don't have to sting us. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any other like kind of coping mechanisms for dealing with bees and wasps, especially during the summer. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.